Before watching the video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch the video till the end. You will love my video. We need your support. Imagine a single document, shorter than most high school essays, that has kept the most powerful country in the world running for over 230 years. A document written with quills and ink in 1787 in a room with no air conditioning, where 55 men argued, compromised, and finally signed their names to a blueprint for a new nation. That document, the U.S. Constitution, remains the oldest written national constitution still in use today. Yet despite its age, it still decides everything: how laws are made, how presidents are elected, what rights people enjoy, and even what police can and cannot do when they knock on your door. So how does it actually work? Why has it survived while so many other constitutions failed? And how does a document written in the 18th century still govern the 21st century United States? Today we'll take you on a journey through the U.S. Constitution. From its chaotic birth after the American Revolution, to its carefully crafted structure, to the freedoms it guarantees and the battles it continues to shape today. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand not only how the Constitution works, but also why it still matters. The birth of the Constitution. After winning independence from Britain in 1783, the United States had to figure out how to govern itself. The first attempt was the Articles of Confederation, America's original constitution. But the Articles had problems. The national government was weak. It couldn't tax, couldn't raise a strong army, and couldn't even enforce its own laws. Each state acted almost like an independent country, printing its own money and fighting over trade. The breaking point came in 1786 with Shays' Rebellion, when farmers in Massachusetts, angry over debt and taxes, rose up in armed revolt. The federal government couldn't put it down, only a state militia could. Leaders like George Washington and Alexander Hamilton realized that without a stronger central government, the young nation might collapse. So in May 1787, delegates from 12 states met in Philadelphia for what was supposed to be a meeting to fix the Articles. Instead, they decided to scrap it and write something entirely new. This gathering, the Constitutional Convention, brought together some of the greatest political minds of the era. George Washington, chosen as president of the convention; James Madison, often called the father of the Constitution; Benjamin Franklin, the elder statesman; Alexander Hamilton, advocate for strong federal power. For 4 months they debated. Big states wanted representation based on population. Small states wanted equal power. The solution? The Great Compromise. A two-house Congress, with the House of Representatives based on population, and the Senate giving every state 2 seats. They also clashed over slavery. Southern states wanted slaves counted in population to boost their representation. Northern states opposed it. The compromise? The infamous 3/5 compromise. Each enslaved person counted as 3/5 of a person for representation and taxation. By September 1787, a final draft was ready. On September 17th, 39 of the 55 delegates signed the Constitution. But it still had to be approved by the states. The battle between Federalists and Anti-Federalists was fierce. Federalists, like Madison and Hamilton, argued in the Federalist Papers that a strong government was necessary. Anti-Federalists feared tyranny and demanded protections for individual freedoms. The compromise was the Bill of Rights. With a promise that these first 10 amendments would be added, enough states ratified the Constitution in 1789. By 1791, the Bill of Rights was law. From rebellion and chaos, the Constitution was born. It was not perfect. It was not even fair to all. But it created a foundation, one strong enough to endure centuries of change. The structure of the Constitution? The Constitution is surprisingly short, just about 4,500 words, but it's organized in a way that makes it both stable and flexible. The preamble sets the tone. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. These opening words declare that the people, not kings, not states, are the ultimate source of power. The document is divided into 7 articles. Article 1. The legislative branch creates Congress, House of Representatives, and Senate, gives them power to make laws, control money, declare war. Article 2. The executive branch establishes the presidency. The president enforces laws, commands the military, makes treaties with Senate approval. Article 3. The judicial branch creates the Supreme Court, interprets laws and the Constitution itself. Article 4. States' relations, how states work together and respect each other's laws. Article 5. Amendments process for changing the Constitution. Article 6. Supremacy Clause. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Article 7. Ratification process, by which states agreed to adopt it. Then come the amendments, 27 in total. The first 10 are the Bill of Rights, 1791. Later ones abolished slavery, 13th. Gave women the right to vote, 19th. Lowered the voting age to 18, 26th, and more. This structure keeps government strong but also allows change. It's not detailed rules, it's a framework. That's why it has survived so long. Separation of powers and checks and balances, the founders feared tyranny. To prevent it, they split government into 3 branches. The legislative branch, Congress, makes laws. House, representation based on population. Senate, equal representation for each state, controls taxes, budgets, and can declare war. The executive branch, President, enforces laws, Commander-in-Chief of the military, can veto bills, appoints judges and ambassadors. The judicial branch, Supreme Court plus lower courts, interprets laws, decides if government actions are constitutional. But here's the genius. Checks and balances. President vetoes Congress. Congress can override. Congress passes laws. Supreme Court can strike them down. President nominates judges. Senate must confirm. Courts depend on executive to enforce rulings. Examples in history. Watergate, 1970s. Supreme Court forced President Nixon to hand over tapes. He resigned. Impeachment trials. Congress can remove presidents, though most survive. Korematsu vs. U.S., 1944. Supreme Court upheld Japanese internment, showing checks don't always protect rights immediately. The Constitution doesn't prevent abuse of power. It makes abuse harder, slower, and always subject to challenge. Federalism divides power between the national government and the states. Federal powers, defense, currency, treaties, interstate commerce. State powers, education, elections, local policing. Shared powers, taxation, roads, law enforcement. This balance allows states to experiment with laws. For example, marijuana is legal in some states, but illegal federally. Education policies vary widely across states. Federalism lets the United States be united without being uniform. The Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was added in 1791 to protect individuals. First Amendment: speech, press, religion, assembly, petition. Second Amendment: right to bear arms. Fourth Amendment: protection from unreasonable searches. Fifth and Sixth Amendments: rights to due process, trial, lawyer. 10th Amendment: powers not given to federal government belong to states or people. These protections define American freedom. But they also create debate, like gun rights, digital privacy, or hate speech. The Bill of Rights made Americans citizens, not subjects. The Supreme Court and judicial review in Marbury versus Madison, 1803, the court claimed the power of judicial review to strike down unconstitutional laws. Since then, landmark rulings have reshaped America. Brown versus Board, 1954, ended segregation in schools. Roe v. Wade, 1973, recognized abortion rights, later overturned in 2022. Obergefell v. Hodges, 2015, legalized same-sex marriage. The Constitution lives not just in its words, but in how courts interpret those words. The Constitution is tested constantly, but survives. The U.S. Constitution is not perfect. It was born in compromise, it has been tested by war and division, and it is often criticized. But it remains the foundation of American democracy, because it balances stability with flexibility. It sets principles that endure, while leaving space for change. Other nations have rewritten constitutions again and again. The United States still uses the same one written in 1787. It is more than parchment. It is a living contract. And that is why it still works 230 years later.